Hi guys, today I'm doing a quick tutorial on how to install VMware ESXi version 5.1 hypervisor, and I'm going to go ahead and do this in a way that it's great for beginners. So I'm going to do it in download a 60-day free trial, so you don't have to pay anything for this, and I'm doing it in a virtualized environment. So I'm going to install my hypervisor in Oracle VirtualBox, so it's like a hypervisor in a hypervisor. So this is just for training purposes. Then before you actually want to install on physical hardware, you can go ahead and set up in this environment and go ahead and learn all the tools and how to set it up before you go ahead and set up in your actual environment. So just keep watching, and I'll show you how very easy it is to do, and then I'll show you how to go ahead and connect to it. First thing you want to do is go to the VMware website and register for a free account. Now this account is completely free. All you have to do is fill out this form, and it will allow you a 60-day free trial of their software, which is great if you don't sure you want to pay for it, but you want to buy it. Maybe in the future we want to test it first. So I always recommend testing out your products first with an evaluation copy. So that's great. So VMware allows you to do that. So I'm going to do my evaluation of VMware vSphere. So it's going to bring us to this page with all the products to evaluate. I'm choosing ESXi 5.1 update. I'm going to go ahead and download the ISO for that. You can either use the Start Download Manager or the manual download. Either one works. After downloading that, you want to go ahead and save it to your local file system. And it's going to download that ISO. The second download we're going to do is for the Virtual Center server, which is a separate tutorial I'm going to do right after this. So please watch out for that video. I'll have a link somewhere on this page right here. So you can click on that and watch that video right after for easy management of multiple ESXi hypervisors, which is a great tool. So once those two products are downloaded, we're going to go ahead and either burn the ISO, or if you want to download some of the other formats like the VMDK file. But for easy, if you're a beginner, I would just go with the ISO. You can either burn it to a CD, pop it into a computer, and boot off the computer, boot off the CD on that physical computer. I'm going to do this using a virtualized environment for this demonstration, which is also great for testing in your environment if you're not sure if you want to go ahead and install it. So I'm using Oracle VirtualBox, which is another free product that's great. And you go ahead and set up your whole environment with multiple ESXi servers and a virtual center server in this tool without having to use any physical hardware. Be sure to use a machine that actually has the processing power and memory high enough that you can actually perform this test without being too painful. So I'm going to go ahead and install this. I'm going to create a new virtual environment. I'm going to give it some memory, a decent amount of memory here. A minimum is at least 2 gigs. If you have a higher machine with more memory on it, go ahead and up that. Most of these options will be default. So the only thing is I'm going to up the disk space a little bit because we're going to have to store our virtual machines on this file system. If you have a like fiber or some kind of SAN solution, you go ahead and use that, or ESXi, you go ahead and use that. One of the customized settings I will do in my virtual machine is add a second processor. I'm going to go ahead and put a second processor on here, and I'm also going to add another Ethernet card. You could have as many Ethernet cards as you want on your hypervisor. I'm going to put 2 on here, but on your physical machine, I have it put up to like 16 without any problems, which is nice if you have multiple subnets or VLANs that you manage. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to do a host only adapter, and I'm going to add a second one here, which is great. So I'm going to have my ESXi machines. I'm going to have 2 for this demonstration talk to each other. That way when I do the virtual center server, I'm also going to do the same thing, add a second NIC card for that. That way they can all communicate to each other within my VirtualBox management environment. This is really a VirtualBox thing I have to do. If you're on a normal network, you just put them on the same VLAN, and then they would have no problem communicating to each other. And technically they don't really have to be on the same VLAN. It's just sometimes for performance you might want to do that. So I'll go ahead, and now my 2 ISOs are completely downloaded. I'm going to boot off my ESXi ISO. And it's going to be a very standard install. If you've ever done this install before, it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to boot off it. If you're doing it on a physical machine, just go ahead and pop that disk into your machine and boot off that. I'm just booting off the ISO file with my Oracle VirtualBox client. It's going to guide me through this very easy installation. It's going to start loading the ESXi installer. This just takes a few minutes. You kind of see what's going on here. Doing it on a physical machine, you will see the exact same display. So once that's done, it's going to ask me a very few basic questions about this installation. So if this is the first time you're doing this, you might just go through with the default, which is very easy to do. It just takes a few minutes. Actually, this is a very fast install. It kind of gives you a brief summary about the VMware ESXi build, the kernel, the release kernel, the amount of memory, and kind of the processor you're running this on. So you kind of see what I put into my VirtualBox VMware client. You kind of see the settings I put there, and it's showing here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the disk space. See the 12 gigs that I allocated in Oracle VirtualBox is appearing here. I'm going to choose my default language, my root password for the ESXi environment, which is really a very stripped down Linux environment, is the hypervisor, if anyone's wondering. This is a very basic stripped down. I mean, it's just simulating a hardware environment, but it's really a Linux kernel back there. You use a lot of Linux commands, and actually, if you go really in depth to the VMware ESXi environment, you can kind of see all the commands you can run. So once the install is done, it's going to reboot. Super easy. It's going to boot up into its environment. Again, you can see the summary of the hardware it's running on, which is, again, is my virtual hardware, or it could be your physical hardware if you did this on a physical machine. And once it boots up, it's going to show me my IP address. You can use this IP address to access the web-based interface for your ESXi installation to download some software to allow Windows-based access to your ESXi installation. Also, you can use the browser itself for some management options. Press F2 to customize system settings. It's going to prompt you for the root password, and then it'll bring you to this scroll menu bar. Now you can go ahead and configure the password by pressing that first option, enter the old password, enter the new root password. If you go to configure management network, we go ahead and change the IP configuration to a static IP address. In our VirtualBox installation, we have a range of internal IP addresses to select from, so I go ahead. You can also select a default gateway if you have one. In most environments, there will be a default gateway. You configure IPv6 configuration as well as your DNS server configuration. Once you're done, you can hit escape and go ahead and apply these settings. It will require a system restart. Once it's restarted, you will see the new IP address. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Otherwise, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me know if there's any videos you specifically want. I'll be interested in hearing what you guys have to say.